So ghosts and paranormal. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you think the spirits actually exist? Or do you think they're all just a fake facade? Today myself and Paul are going to delve into the paranormal world and talk about the Ouija board in particular and our beliefs growing up.
Well, you know, we're based in Ireland, and as we record this, it's coming up to Halloween, and Halloween was created in Ireland.
Yeah. Was it not America that
No.
trick or treating or something?
No. We were at it way before that. We brought it to America.
We have the old castles here.
Hill of Ward was one of the original places where they used to light fires and summon the dead. You know, at the end of October, they reckoned that there was a narrow veil or a very thin veil between the world of the living and the world of the dead. November is the month of the dead.
Actually, yeah. I've seen that written somewhere before.
Yeah. So we spread Halloween worldwide. And,
wow.
But then, you know, it kind of took on all these things like trick or treat.
But haunted castles though, Paul, as well. Yeah. Like there's loads of them in Ireland. And actually, the weirdest thing happened to my daughter. My husband brought her to one of these haunted castles here in Ireland.
Which one was it?
Oh God,
it wasn't Kinnessy, was it?
It wasn't Kinnessy Castle.
Because I did a radio show from
Did you go down there?
I did for a Halloween years
ago.
Did
anything weird happen?
Lots of weird stuff happened.
Yes, because something weird happened. He was taking a photograph or a video of her, and a light went in front of her face.
Yes.
It went like this, and then it disappeared.
The same thing happened when I was doing this radio show.
No way.
We were around a table, and somebody took a picture of me, and when it came out afterwards, it's this big squiggly light that they couldn't account for. There was no light between me and the camera. Lots of weird things happened. There was a pentagon on the floor of this place, like that was supposed to be. It's like a chapel place that was haunted by a dead monk.
Right.
And it's funny, people use that as a wedding venue and other things.
Sure, it's really exciting. Like,
but it was about 4:00 in the morning, and we had just taken an ad break. And I said to the producers that we're just walking across this courtyard, and we're going to go into this space, and we're going to do a thing around the Pentagon, see if anything happened. And it was funny because we weren't actually recording that bit, but it was one of the best bits because there's about 10 of us walking. I'm the last of the 10. I was talking to this psychic medium lady.
Yeah. And
as we just get to the door, all the lads come screaming, running out, totally freaked out in a panic. And it's like the building's on fire. They nearly knock us over. And I go, what the hell?
What is going on?
They said, don't go in there. And of course I go in there.
Of course you do, yeah.
And what had scared them was a black cat had appeared and was sitting in the middle of the Pentagon looking at them.
Ooh.
And they freaked out.
Years ago they used to say, like, if a black dog appears, that it's Satan. That's the devil's dog.
You'd feel bad for all black dogs, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I know, it's not their fault. Like, and the same with black cats and superstition and all that crack. Where
I used to live, lots of people told me it was haunted. It was like a 200-year-old house and a real character. But there was things that went bump in the night. And I remember, like, because I was doing research on ghosts and the paranormal for this particular radio show I was doing, I was in touch with a lot of psychic mediums. They all told me the same thing, that was a kind of an elderly woman kind of thing around that, you know, that
in your house.
Yeah. And one woman said, I can see her, she's sitting in a rocking chair beside your fire. And I did have a rocking chair beside the fire.
Oh, weird.
But and this particular woman was able to tell me about features out and around the house, though she'd never been there. But I remember sitting there one night on my own, typing up stuff on the laptop. The next thing was a massive bump upstairs, like somebody dropped a basketball upstairs. Went bump, 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 bump.
Oh my gosh.
So what did I do? I kind of
go up to investigate.
I said, can you keep it down a bit? I'm working up here.
You did not.
And it stopped.
Right.
Now, I am a skeptic as regards ghosts and paranormal, because when I was growing up, I was intrigued by it, and you see pictures in magazines of ghosts in graveyards or ghosts coming downstairs and how. I think now that everybody actually has a camera with them 24/7, you have a camera on your phone. Why aren't we seeing more and more ghosts? Like, are the cameras shy?
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing is, why is it if ghosts are like spectres or like light or the kind of, why do you hear them? Like, do they wear hobnail boots at night when they kind of water? Do they have day jobs? Do they have day jobs? Why do they just come out at night?
I think a lot of it is in our heads, to be honest.
Well, it is, Siobhan, because when we're babies, the first thing we recognise is people's faces. You know, somebody looking down, you go, oh, cool, and we recognise faces, and we have this inbuilt program that we try to recognise faces wherever. You know, like if you lie on your back in summer and you're looking up at clouds in the sky, you'll see faces in the clouds.
Yes, and everybody sees something different then, don't they, as well?
But sometimes people will see faces in like a slice of bread or tomato, or somebody. It was the rear end of a dog, the arsehole of a dog. You can see this.
God.
Look it up on. And they will see sometimes religious figures like Jesus or Mary. But you'll only see them if you were religious, and they're your religious icons.
Yeah.
If you're of a different religion, you'll see different things.
Yeah.
So it's all, to me, it's projection out. But you mentioned the Ouija board in the introduction. The Ouija board was originally created as a game, like a parlour game, you know, like Snakes and Ladders, and it was created in 1848. No, it wasn't created in 1848. I've got that wrong. It was created and it was as a parlour game. I think it was 1925, and it wasn't until like some Christians and these people were kind of going, oh, that's weird, you're summoning the dead, that it took on a whole new meaning that wasn't in it originally.
We were terrified of things like that growing up. Like, my mother and father said that, that is the devil's work, you know, never ever. And then you'd be told stories then about people who were possessed after playing the Ouija board and ran out in front of traffic, killed themselves, all sorts of things, you know. Yeah. And I mean, that was my biggest fear growing up, was being possessed by a demon.
You could have been possessed by worse.
Possibly. Although I don't know.
How do you know did you not possessed by a demon?
I don't know, actually. I've done some pretty wild things.
We'll do an exorcism on Siobhan on our next video. Get away from me. Get away from me. You've been no crack. You're possessed by a funny demon. But you know this thing like where they will have a glass on the table and they'll kind of move it around and all that. I was part of a seance a couple of times.
No way.
But in one particular place, I was pouring cold water and everything. I was brought along to do a psychological evaluation of what was happening. But I kind of spoiled the party. So they were doing those, and I know there's this thing called ideomotor movement where tiny minute muscles in your fingers will move, even though you don't realise that they're moving. So if somebody holds a pendulum over something, they are actually manipulating the string without them knowing it. They just kind of think, and the thing moves in that direction. So I knew for a fact that people were moving this tumbler, the thing. So they were moving. I was spelling out thing on it, and they kind of go, do you want to become involved? And I did. I've got strong hands because I used to weightlift and I used to do martial arts. So I put my finger on the tumbler and I put an inordinate amount of pressure on it, and the thing does not move. There's 5 or 6 other people around and trying to get it to move, and I'm just going, spirit's gone. It's not moving. If it was a spirit that was moving it should have been able to move it regardless of me. Yeah. It wasn't. And there was Darren Brown did this in the States, where he got people, the way they put their hands on the table and the table starts to move. He put a sheet of glass on the table. The table didn't move, the glass did, which showed that they were actually moving it with their fingers. With their hands.
I see. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But do you know that you've often heard this thing, like, if there's ghosts trying to communicate, knock once for yes and twice for no. Do you know where that came from? There's 2 sisters, Kate and Margaret Fox. It was in Hyattsville, New York in 1848. And they suspected that they were living in a haunted house. And they set up this kind of a code with the ghosts to kind of go, if I tap twice, you tap twice. And the ghost, and then kind of go, tap once for yes and twice for no. And they created a whole thing around this, like people came for miles.
It became quite famous.
Oh, massively famous. But it wasn't until they were older that they admitted that they had made this up.
Oh my God, imagine.
But then they were kind of thrown out of their own cult. People said, no, you're wrong about that. You didn't make it up. No, we did make it up. They didn't believe them. In one way, one of the things that you can imagine houses back then that wouldn't have been brightly illuminated with electricity. So one of them had a string with an apple tied to the end of the string, but the apple kind of gone out the window and then down.
What?
Yeah, so as they were kind of all around doing this, she would just kind of move her foot and the apple would boom, boom.
No way.
And obviously people didn't see her moving.
Hoax.
Yeah.
Wow, love it. Actually, there's a modern guy that I used to watch actually when I was at home sick with the kids years ago. John Edwards was his name, and I used to watch his TV program. So he's like a modern medium, and there's lots of different ones out there now that created their own shows. And like, so this guy, he speaks to the dead basically, you know. Now, he's scarily accurate. So I believe he has to have some kind of gift, but I don't know if it's actually speaking to the dead. I think he's just like, you know, psychic or something like that.
Is it like cold reading as well? Because if you make a kind of a couple of generalised predictions about things, people will take that in and match it to what they believe.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it too. I remember going to a guy called Billy Martin. He's a local guy.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he was in Tullamore and he was in Mullingar actually. He used to do his palm reading and that kind of thing and tarot card reading. And I remember the first time I went to him, I was going in very sceptical, thinking, this is a load of bull. And I sat down and he told me things about my past that I thought he couldn't know, or about my personality. Now, he could have taken a wild guess, you know.
He could have Googled you.
Well, he didn't have my name, so...
Oh, okay.
He saw you for 10 minutes and there was about 40 people waiting on him, so I don't think he'd have time to get through us all.
Do you not think, Siobhan, that you can, you know, especially in the business that we're in, that you can make an assessment of somebody by looking at them? Because people do wear their lives in their faces.
I think they do, but at the same time, I do have like clients that come into you and they expect you to know whether somebody's lying or whether they're lying to you or not. Like, that's not what the business I'm in at all. I'm there to be compassionate about whatever you tell me, you know, so I'm going to believe you. It doesn't, you know, if you're lying, that's your loss, you know, if you're not being honest.
Yeah, the lying to
about
themselves.
where you're at. You're lying to yourself, really.
Yeah.
You know, because how are you going to be helped?
Yeah.
What's the point in paying me €150 a session? Like, if you're going to come in and sit in front of me and tell lies.
But do you know what? I'd like to believe in ghosts.
Yeah. I think it's really cool, you know. I'm intrigued by it now, but not...
I've been on haunted locations again for different radio programs, and people are kind of going, yo, how can you walk down there in the dark? And I go, no dead person has ever done anything bad to me.
Yeah.
It's the living ones you have to do.
That's what my mother used to say to me. She always used to say that. She'd say, the dead won't harm you, Siobhan. It's the living that'll do the damage. She was so right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
If you've got any anecdotes, any stories about ghosts or hauntings or weird things that happen to you that you can't explain, drop them in the comments down below.
Yeah, definitely let us know about them, guys. And thanks a million for tuning in today.